buried beneath is only sometimes worth that effort.
Did IGN's journalist, Travis Northup, the guy who reviewed Crimson Desert, did he actually play the game? Now, Travis Northup at IGN claimed to have had over 100 hours when he put his first initial review up for the game, when he gave it a 6 out of 10. Isn't it possible that Travis could have lied about the amount of time he put into Crimson Desert, if he put in any at all? But you know, in this day and age, when we have people lying on job applications and resumes, and we have scandals when it comes to sign language interpreters.
It's happened again. Another sign language interpreter accused of signing total gibberish.
I think it's only fair that we ask the question, did he actually play the amount he claimed? Now, I can't prove that Travis actually put in the amount of time that he claimed that he did. However, neither can IGN. At least not at this moment. If they gave us screenshots and snippets of his gameplay footage, that could be easily altered or fabricated or taken from somebody else. I think it's fair that we could press IGN on the validity of their journalists. Now, when it came to Travis's review of Crimson Desert, there were a couple key moments that I zoned in on of negative experiences he had within the game that should have never been there to begin with.
In one section, I had to climb to a higher area to solve a puzzle, but couldn't reach that high due to stamina limitations. After searching for the correct way to climb up to the next floor, I ended up just cheesing my way up by finding a ledge that let me take a breather in a way that seemed very much unintentional. When I got to the top and solved the puzzle, it felt like I'd done something wrong, but apparently that's just what you're supposed to do to get through that section.
This was a red flag to me. So let's go back. Let's talk about he had issues with solving a puzzle where he had to do climbing. He couldn't reach the spot he needed to reach due to stamina limitations. And so he had to find a ledge that didn't feel like it was intuitive in the game's design to even be there. But he found it, got there, got his stamina back up, and was able to move on. But he failed to mention things as simple as leveling up stamina as a possibility. He failed to mention any potions he could have drank to increase his stamina as a possibility. He failed to mention any food or consumable items to regain stamina. Bisque cores, those are things you can slot in and out of your armor sets to regain stamina or even increase your climbing speed. He failed to mention armor that could help with climbing speed. And he failed to mention the multitude of abilities that can help him with his traversal on this puzzle. There's almost never a time where stamina limitations will stop you from finishing a puzzle because of everything the game gives you. You could walk in with over 100 honey tea to replenish your stamina, giving you almost infinite stamina if you really wanted to make it. There should be no issues of stamina limitations in this game, given everything the game gives you. Travis also goes on to talk about how combat just feels bad and is bad. So within Travis's complaints of the combat system and boss fights, Travis states, "I love Souls-likes and consider myself a tryhard who enjoys mastering perfect parry mechanics, and even with my background, I found the vast majority of these boss fights to be unfun, poorly balanced, and downright annoying." He expresses his frustration with boss fights being too difficult and annoying because he went in under leveled, he went in under prepared, he went in under armored, like he did not have his armor or weapons upgraded, and he kind of highlights that.
The boss fights in this game are real bad. They're not fun encounters. They are scaled way too aggressively. They take a really long time to do. You die a lot. And it's one of those things where, you know, I play a lot of Souls-like, so it's not like a skill thing. Like I was able to get through a lot of the encounters with like low level loot because I wasn't really focusing on leveling up my loot for a lot of the game. I wasn't really focusing on leveling up my loot for a lot of the game. And
this is one of those moments, it's like, you're not being genuine, you're not being honest here. The game gives you multiple different things. Sure, you'll be fistfulling yourself full of food just to get through, and he does mention that. He does talk about how, you know, he feels like he has to go in through every encounter with a bunch of food. That's just prepping for your fight. And to a certain extent, I mean, depending on how your basic understanding of the game's mechanics and when boss openings happen and when they don't happen and things you can do to interrupt actions, there shouldn't be that much of a big problem here. The game also gives you Palmer pills. It fails to mention those things. It's something that lets you get right back up and into the fight. It's almost like you could push through any boss encounter as long as you have a plethora of Palmer pills. But that's also based on how you like to play the game. If you don't want to use them, don't use them. If you want to use them, use them. He fails to mention that at all, though. And he talks about how this hurt the pacing and how he just didn't enjoy it, but he was still, does highlight the moment that he's a Souls enjoyer, that he loves playing Souls games. Yet then also in the same breath, in the same article, he talks about how there's a huge number of combat abilities that seem like they're almost clones of another, which would require me to memorize a whole new button combination to use them that I'd surely never remember. So, are you a Souls enjoyer that enjoys the difficulty of a game and mastering perfect pairing mechanics along with new combat techniques and abilities? Or are you lying about that? Like, I can't help, why are these two things in the same sentence? Are you a Souls enjoyer? Do you like pushing on and learning the skills and abilities that the game gives you access to? Or are you going to hold that against the game when you can't figure those things out and say, well, I don't want to have to learn the new button combination? That's actually crazy that this isn't even in this article. Remember, these are components held against the game to justify a 6 out of 10 rating. He's holding the combat system. And he's just saying that it feels like clones of another. And I'll tell you why he said that, because he didn't feel the need to even explore it. He saw that there was a lot of new things, a lot of new button combinations, and he said, nah, fuck that. I'm swinging and rolling. If you have over 100 hours, you should definitely know the amount of skills and abilities the game gives you, and you should get comfortable using them, because it's only going to go through with a positive experience. I've never felt so empowered in the combat system of an open world game, more so ever than I have with Crimson Desert. Like I said, you have access to all those unique skills, abilities, weapons, and you can switch it up on the fly, all without interrupting the flow of combat. One of my biggest gripes when it comes to open world games, especially like Skyrim, having to pause the game, wait, hold up, let me eat my food, okay, hold on, let me pause the game, let me switch up to a different spell. Yeah, you could tab them over in your favorites, but then guess what? What you're doing again is you're still kind of pausing the game. It goes into a pause state where you're interrupting the flow of combat, so combat never flows from beginning to end without a bunch of interruptions. In both of these reviews, Travis definitely comes off more so as somebody expressing frustrations on wanting to force his way through the end of the game without taking any time to learn anything the game has taught you, any of the fundamentals within this game. And the crazy thing to me is, one of the main bosses in the game, I went into that boss fight with an inventory full of bees. And all I did was block the whole time while going in my inventory and discarding bees. And the bees killed the boss for me. I didn't have to kill the boss, the bees killed the boss. Those moments shows there's more beauty into this game, and it gives you so much variety to solve so many different issues in the game. And if you go in with a one-track mind without wanting to learn anything from the game, you're not going to get anywhere, and you're just going to find yourself complaining. However, if you like to express a creative mind, or just even willingness to learn what the game's giving you, you're going to have a positive experience with this game. He either is going into this review frustrated because he just wants to get to the end of the game, he wants to beat it, he wants to be able to put his review out, and just wants to knucklehead his way through without learning anything that the game has given him, or he's someone who possibly played just a couple hours of the game, like I said, and then he tapped out and wrote a generic review that can encompass a poor experience within 10 hours because you didn't want to learn what the game had given you. If you truly explored this, or if you truly listened to what the game was giving you, you wouldn't have had these issues, like the game giving you everything you need. It's not painting it yellow, and I don't even think this is a yellow or a paint argument when it comes to this, because this is more or less the fundamentals of the game. This is the game actually giving you something, and this is just basic gaming knowledge at the end of the day. Like, how do you have a stamina limitation complaint in a game where you can level up stamina and you never bring that up as a solution to the problem? That just shows me this is not a person that represents gaming, and this isn't someone who should be writing reviews for a game. Now, like I said, I can't prove that Travis played the game. I can't prove that he put even 100 hours into the game. I can just tell you what I feel like are red flags, and I feel like are fair questions that we start to ask and that we start to normalize. We need to start having this discourse of what does it mean to actually be a journalist and that actually represents gaming. Because there is this big distinction, this big disconnect. I don't want to have to worry about journalists who have inability to comprehend basic functions that are presented to them. Now, I also do understand that players will all play games differently, right? Everyone's got a different mindset how to go about different tasks. And I'm not saying that Travis needed to be a top tier gaming, speedrunning, masterclass gamer to review this game. But I wanted him to go in with at least a basic understanding of how games work. And it's your job to play games for a living. We should all expect him to have a basic level of understanding when it comes to the mechanics and fundamentals of a game. If Travis is lying about the hours he put in the review, this could also lead to a chain reaction of different questions that we could start asking then. Because if Travis lied about his review here and didn't put in 100 hours or lied about playing the game at all, then we could start questioning some of the other things he held against the game. Like he said he faced a game-breaking bug well later on into the game.
The worst bug came late in the main story when a vital quest step didn't register as I completed it, locking me out of progression entirely unless I reloaded a save file from 7 hours earlier. I was able to proceed by copying a coworker's save file who is roughly at the same part of the story as me and soldiering on that way instead. If I hadn't, I would have likely thrown in the towel right then and there.
Is that true? Or is this a story you fabricated to make it, to justify, again, to give it a lower score, to give it a 6 out of 10? We have no proof that he actually faced any game-breaking bug. We have no proof if it was not a game-breaking bug and just a mechanic or puzzle that surpassed his comprehension. Like maybe he just couldn't figure something out and was like, oh, game-breaking bug, I don't know what to do. The problem is based on your experience thus far, and especially with your misunderstanding of situations and mechanics that the game has given you, even that on a basic level, this is either you're lying about the situation or you just did not comprehend a puzzle and you called it a game-breaking bug. Recently, I think it's fair that we also bring up to light that he did go online to X and he did put out a statement that this shouldn't be a controversial take with his 6 out of 10 take on Crimson Desert. He goes, this shouldn't be controversial. The Crimson Desert I played was absolutely a 6 out of 10 for all the reasons listed in my review, which we just covered is a bunch of bull. He also goes on to say the developer has since made a whole bunch of changes to the game, so a re-review is possibly warranted. Well, Travis, did they add leveling up stamina as a solution? Did they add food, items, potions, armor, abilities to the game that could have helped you with your stamina puzzle? I know these are things that existed in the game based off of its launch, and I can guarantee that most of them, if not all of them, existed prior to the game's release when he was doing his review. So no, Travis, I don't think this game is a 6 out of 10. I don't think the Crimson Desert you played was a 6 out of 10. Your comprehension of video games might be a 6 out of 10. Your review was really telling on yourself that, hey, I don't know what I'm talking about. Hey, I do not understand basic level of gaming knowledge, and maybe I shouldn't be writing reviews for video games. Or you're a liar. Allegedly. I can't prove this, okay? But there is a solution. I'm not here to just yap and complain, okay? The solution I have to offer here would be something that genuinely everyone would want. It could also help filter out journalists who are lying on their resume or lying on their job application or lying on the reviews that they put out. So this solution I'm talking about, if gaming journalists move forward with just recording themselves and putting it out after the game comes out, it could help clear out so much distrust within the companies and journalists themselves. Okay, after they've recorded themselves playing it, I'm not saying they need to put it out beforehand. I'm not saying they need to stream it beforehand or anything. They don't need to break any NDAs or whatever. But once the game is released, they should be absolutely required to put out the gameplay footage of themselves playing the game. It might not fix everything, but it could be a good starting point. Why not have this extra level of verification of recording yourself during the whole process that you do put out to the public? This way you feel more inclined to be honest about your gameplay. You don't have to ever have any situation where you think that, or you'll say something that we'll have to question, okay, you're saying there was a game-breaking bug. I'm supposed to just take your word for it. But I'd like to actually see it happen. This way I know what you're saying is true. Or I know that you just didn't understand this puzzle and you called it quits and you called it a game-breaking bug. I don't know if that's what happened, and I should have the proof of evidence that yes, you faced a game-breaking bug. And yes, I can understand that negatively impacting your review of the game. But I can't. We don't have access to any of this. We just have access to your word, and I'm tired of it. This is beyond IGN, honestly. This is for every game journalist. I feel like every game journalist should be following this step. This should be the extra layer of verification of a journalist. They should absolutely have their entire playthrough posted online. That would actually be beautiful. Like, hey, he's got his review. It's posted. a day, a week, or whatever before the game comes out. Then you could be like, all right, you know, I'm still kind of skeptical. He gave it a 6 out of 10. I'm not too sure if this is a game that's going to be proper or good enough for me to play or that I really want to sink my time into. But let me wait and to see how his gameplay footage comes out when it comes out. So once the game releases, boom, Travis can post his whole entire playthrough of the game, and then somebody can go through and go, okay, well, he did say this whole puzzle with the stamina thing. And then while you're watching, you could be like, why isn't he leveling his stamina? Why isn't he using items? Why isn't he using consumables? Why isn't he using certain armor pieces? I want people to see that because it'll be self-telling. It'll be really revealing how these people go into the review process, their mindset, if they genuinely represent us or not. And then people like Travis can no longer hide behind the label of, well, I like Souls games, so that means you can't criticize me as a gamer. No, we can criticize you as a gamer because I see that you can't even understand how to level up your stamina. It's not going to clear everything. This isn't the be-all, end-all solution, but I do think it's a step in the proper direction. Like I said, please share this out there, guys. Get this message out there. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of letting this slide. I'm tired of this going as far as it's gotten. It's giving gaming a bad name in general. We could have lost a positive, huge game like Crimson Desert. I'll have a review on that later. I'll go in depth on how I feel about that game and my actual final score. It's definitely not a 6 out of 10. It's also not a 10 out of 10. But I'll go in through my review process and why I believe it is what it is. This is not the video for that. This is just the message. We need to fix journalism within gaming. They no longer represent us, and that's a problem. With that being said, guys, appreciate a like and follow. Keep being amazing. Keep being awesome. Keep catching them W's, y'all. I will see you next time. Peace out.